if a student came to you today after class, Bob, and said, I'm reading this story. It's 1 Samuel 28. It's the Witch of Endor. What's the point? I've got to run to my next class. What's the point of 1 Samuel 28? What do you think you'd tell them?
I would say, look, this is that this was a practice that took place, that shamanism has never gone away. If you're familiar with my other courses, I teach a course, Mythology of Otherworldly Journeys. We spend a lot of time talking about shamanism, how it's not a religious practice, how it pervades every religion, both ancient and modern today. Mm-hmm. It just manifests in different ways. But the idea of an intercessor, an intermediary who helps you to navigate the spiritual world, what is believed to be the spiritual world, and that these people in different ways help bring the living, you and I, into a better, what they would call an understanding of what's going on in the spiritual world. And if you can bring that into harmony, the person feels better. But that person is also the medicine person. It's also the historian. So that these people have always existed. They've always had a role, and they've been promoted, and they've been, pushed away, pushed out of the light throughout history. So that it's there because it was a real practice that took place in ancient Israel. Oddly enough, it works in the Bible.
It works. If you take nothing else from this conversation, necromancy in the Bible works.
Here it is. And why is it preserved? Why is the story still here? Because it's the Hebrew Bible's way of saying God really, really intends to pound home the idea to Saul, you're done. I made you this first king, right? I think, if we go back into how the Bible is redacted, there is a pro-Saul contingency and there's a pro-David contingency. And there's people that love David and there's people that don't like David. There's people that love the monarchy and there's people who don't love the monarchy, the Davidic monarchy. And so this is one of those stories that says, God took it away from you. And now Samuel's dead, but just in case you have any questions, we're going to bring Samuel back from the dead just to thump you one more time.
To say it one more time.
Right. We're just
word in.
Even the underworld thinks you're not going to be king anymore.
Mary Kate, what about you? What do you think you feel like is that main point of the story?
I would agree, the rise of David, and just framing it, because we get Samuel saying so many times, you don't want a king. Kings suck. You don't want a king. And then Saul comes and no one likes him very much. Well, you're right, there is pro-Saul, but not everyone likes him. And we just constantly are getting this setup that David is going to be the king and the king of Israel and the long-lasting king. And this just hammers in that point further through. But what would you think?
I think for me, in addition to those things, if I was to put a different one forward, it's the role of household cult.
Yeah.
That this, like Jeremiah with the cakes for the Queen of Heaven, where there are these spaces where women at home have control over specific cult practices. They're in charge, and the text doesn't condemn them for this. It might try to say, you shouldn't do this, or maybe we're not big fans of this, but at the end of the day, they do it. They defend their right to do it. They're successful at doing it, and the text preserves that memory of there's the institutional religion that happens with the priesthood at these places. But in addition to that, there are these other things that happened that we know about. And here's some of how it took place. But who's in charge of it? She is.
Yeah.
And so that's for me one of the points of like, why don't I like the name as common as it is, the Witch of Endor? It's because, as you mentioned, it draws on our ideas of witchcraft and ideas of Salem and Halloween, which is why we're talking about this now, because this is when this story is always being searched for.
Right.
Yeah.
But she's not a witch.
Right.
She is the necromancer. She's the one with the power. She's the one in charge.
Right.
And she doesn't get condemned. The Bible is not hammering on her for doing this.
No, she never gets any punishment.
And she's passive. And Saul
is the passive one, and she is the one with authority.